Hey, so welcome everybody to the DIMC Academy podcast. It's going to be live on our YouTube channel. It's also going to be live on our LinkedIn. Today on the podcast, we have a very, very wonderful, beautiful, amazing guest. I'm not biased at all. It's not because she's my partner or anything. Mrs. Should I call you?
Mrs. is
Mr.
good.
Mrs.
Something in
Something
between.
in between. Vergota, the co-founder of DIMC Services, DIMC Technologies Africa, DIMC Academy. Very nice to have you on the
That's
podcast.
right.
How are you
Thank you.
how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I'm still a bit sick, so excuse me in advance if I start coughing. But I'm like, there's nothing like the perfect moment, so you just gotta start, and not everything will be perfect. But yeah, so I'm excited we're doing this. And I'm curious to see where the conversation will go because I think we have a lot of like intimate conversations off camera, and now to transfer it into like being on camera, I want to see how that, maybe alters our conversations. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna find out, and hopefully this is gonna be the first of many. So I'm just going
Yes.
to I'm the interviewer. I guess you're the interviewee. If there's any word
Oh,
like
okay.
that. But then I'm just
Role
role
play.
play. This is the only way we role play.
Yeah.
um, so I'm going to start with um being an entrepreneur. Recently, I think you know the guy I'm going to talk about, but it's a guy who also has an AI agent company, that we looked at in Switzerland. And
Mm-hmm.
and whilst I checked his profile, one thing I realized was he wasn't really attached to one company. He was
Mm-hmm.
an entrepreneur. So, where would you say your entrepreneurial journey started? Do you see yourself as an entrepreneur, or do you see DIMC services as a specific calling?
Oh, damn. That's a deep question.
Really?
I don't think I can. I don't know if I can differentiate it like that. I feel because it's the first company I'm in the process of like developing and building, I'm very attached to it just because I feel like when you're doing something for the first time, you're struggling, you're going through a lot of different emotions, joy, exhaustion, and I attach all of that to the AMC. And I feel like in the future, if it comes to a point where like I'm founding other companies, my approach might switch a bit, and I might be more strategic about it and more about, okay, like what do I want from this, and basically what's the value as well for the consumer or the target group. Whereas to right now, I'm just also happy to just be in the process on this journey, and I can't say that this is where I'm heading towards too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So,
I mean, obviously, because also we're doing it together and there's multiple people involved, which
mm-hmm.
to me is also a very exciting part.
You know what? In sociology, there's this concept of a patchwork family. And that's
Mm-hmm.
basically like in past families, you had very clearly the father, the mother, and the kids. But now you have people who are divorced, you have people who live apart
Mm,
together, you have shared parenting. So you say DIMC services, is like your baby, or our baby, but you're kind of sharing, being a parent with the co-founders. I mean, we're four in total, right?
yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I think there's also something like individual approach in terms of leadership and how you go about businesses. I've watched like multiple videos about, other founders, such as the co-founder or like the main founder of LinkedIn and everything, and really also seeing the different types and personality traits people bring into a business approach, and how that also reflects on how you deal with customers, how you deal with your coworkers. And I think within that aspect, I will always be like a very empathetic, person, and always focus on the social aspect and the community aspect. I want everyone to feel comfortable, and I want everyone to feel seen, and some people might be like, oh, then you're not like a hardcore business person, but I'm like, no, I think with everything, there's different ways to approach something. The outcome might be different, but we also don't want to thrive like for the same output, because that would just lead to repetition, and like nothing would be unique, right?
So this I mean, I tend to be a bit radical, but I'm going to make a radical one more example, kind of just trying to understand your mentality as a founder before we go into the company very concretely. So like if you look at most families where you have a single parent, the child's chances of success are often diminished by just having one parent in the household, either it be single mom or a single dad. So would you say that in this metaphor of seeing a company as a child, that is very important that the child is raised by many people, or at least more than one person?
I think again it depends, because initially I also like that you said like one parent, because that just, I think a lot of times we hear the statement of like, oh, like children need both like a mom and a dad. I think children just need a community and multiple people, so that the love is like multiplying, whoever that might be. So this is also this phrase of like, you coming from Nigeria, like it takes a whole village to raise a child. I truly believe that's the case, because we all have limited resources, and also we bring different things to the table, so a child can learn from different parents the same way a business is like, I think, thriving when there's different approaches and different expertise bringing to the table, like one who's like really good with within the technical aspect, and always knowing the best approach when it's about tech, then one might be really good with dealing with people and dealing with customers, on the other hand, I feel like too many people, especially when they're like very fixed on their approach, and they're not open to try out other things, it can also lead to a lot of conflict, and it can also harm the business in a way where it's like, we're not moving forward. That's also the case with politicians, especially in a democratic system, where it's like all of a sudden you have so many different belief systems, and everybody thinks they know best how to make progress, and that can actually lead to not making progress at all, and kind of like just freezing or like being static, right? And like it can harm the dynamic, because the decision making, the process of making a decision just takes much longer.
So too many cooks spoil the broth. Okay, so we took a bit of a break. I don't know how obvious that was, but we're gonna we're gonna proceed now. We're going to go into the company, into DIMC Services, and I'm going to play devil's advocate and ask, why an AI company? Is it fair if someone sees it as you're jumping on the most popular trend at the moment, or is there something specific about AI that you're like, no, I believe that if I'm involved in starting my own AI company or co-founding it with other people, I can do it in a way that brings value and in a way that other people can't?
Absolutely. So I think there's trends, like for example, the Dubai chocolate, right, which I would consider a trend. It's going viral right now. Everybody wants to taste it, wants to produce it. And I think there's something like actual shifts, like inventions which kind of like question everything that we've been taught so far, will really transform any kind of sector. Like if we talk about finance, if we talk about education, and I think AI is that. Like AI is really this transformative force, which is like will be implemented into any aspect of business, of even how we interact with each other, right? Communication. And so I feel like if you want to call it a trend, you can do that. But then, like, I want to participate in that trend because it is so impactful, right? I want to. The other thing is, I feel like a lot of times when we look at, especially tech trends, there's a certain group of people who push this trend and who, talk about it and make products based on it. And I think it's important to have a diverse group of people who understand AI, who educate other people about AI. And there should be women involved. There should be people involved who are from different countries, different cultures, So I think in that way we can make it more accessible, and we can make it, we can make it in a way where it actually makes life for a lot of different people easier and not just a certain group. I'm also talking about, class, like people who have money, people who don't have money. I think we need to be careful that AI is not something that is just accessible to a small group of people. And when I make that argument, I also need to take action because you can sit back and be like, oh, I don't want this to happen, but what are you actually doing in order to make sure that it will not happen,
I agree with you, and I'm gonna go on a personal anecdote here, because we do have another company, even though that's not the focus of the conversation, being DIMC Technologies Africa. And I remember when we created the company, registered it, found the CEO, found the CHRO. One of our intentions was getting high paid job to Africans, specifically Nigerians. But also having an AI company at the other hand, we could see very quickly how AI disrupted that. And a lot of the things that we wanted to hire the people to do, AI was able to do, is able to do, and going to be able to do it better. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So it's really important still that we keep that vision of providing high paying jobs to Africans, but understanding that we need to elevate them. You also mentioned diversity. I was also looking at a co-founder interview at Claude, where I think they had like six white men and the one woman there. And again, being a person of color, sometimes you can. I don't know. I don't want to disqualify one of the co-founders. I think she's quite brilliant, but there's this feeling of being a token in the room. Because it would look really bad if there were just seven white men on the table.
Yeah.
So we get one white woman there, and the question is, it's not just about having that person on the table, but being able to allow their voice be heard. You understand, in terms of development.
I like that you bring up that example because it also shows so beautifully how it's not just about participating, but also shaping the framework. And if we have like, it's just an example, but the example you brought, I think you said it was six men and one woman, or what was
exactly
constellation?
exactly.
It will have a different, like the conversation will be held in a different way, as in, maybe six women and one man, or like, six white people, one black person. And we need to also be aware of that. You need a certain majority or a certain number of people representing something, so it can actually be also at the center and, be considered equally.
And having started an AI company now over a year, how much importance do you think diversity plays? Do you think diversity should be seen as a value that one goes after, or does it actually lead to better AI and higher return on investment?
Absolutely, it leads to a better product because, for example, when we now think about how we use AI in our daily lives, where it's like we talk to AI, right? We ask, I'm talking about very specifically now LLMs and generative AI. Maybe help me plan my schedule or like help me organize these tasks. And when we don't consider the cultural background that people in Germany live different lives than people in Nigeria, just based on, the infrastructure, based on the systems, the social aspect, how we work, how we do things, what food we eat, where we get our food. It's like it really impacts every aspect of our lives, right? The climate, it's so if we don't consider that, and if we don't consider how that is translated in our language. So if we train AI only on a certain language, we will only have that cultural frame, the languages, where the language is spoken. That's one aspect, which is more the individual level. But then when we talk about a global stage, and we only have big players from a certain country, a certain region, obviously that also leads to a lot of power on their end, and I believe that power should also be distributed and should be kind of like be equal in a way where like everybody's kind of holding power, because obviously that way there's less oppression and there's less tactics of like using my power to hold you down, or to, yeah.
I absolutely agree. I can even go, a bit more personal and say that before coming to Germany, I had the choice of going to America or Germany. And being a small nerd, one of the details I checked was the inequality ratio. So for instance, in America, of course, if you're in the 1%, you're in the 1% in the world, but there is a 99%. And whilst I do believe in my ability, I also believe in math, and
Yeah.
there's a 1% for a reason.
Yeah.
And I remember back then when I checked, this is about 10, 12 years ago, when I checked Germany, the inequality ratio was, about 54% to 50 something percent or 40 something percent, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is amazing, because it's like then my chances of being successful are increased simply because most people find themselves on the other side of the spectrum. And then the other thing is coming from Nigeria, where we have about I believe 500 languages and 200 ethnicities. I don't believe
Mm-hmm.
it's a surprise that there's this narrative going out that Nigerians are very intelligent. I think it's
Yeah.
it's more of a coming together of different cultures, different languages, different kinds of people, different values, different traditions, and we understanding as human beings that in order for us to move forward, we need to synthesize, we need to learn to work together, and that just leads to the development of whatever the society or the people are, because you take much more into context, right? Which is also an AI concept with the context windows. Like how many different contexts is one looking at?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially when we think about creativity and innovation, we talk about these concepts, and that is like very desired, especially in the business realm. Every business wants to be innovative and, creative and like provide like unique solutions. But we don't really think about how we can achieve that. And I think diversity is a huge part of that because usually when you have something unexpected, you want high contrast, right? Because that's exciting. And you achieve high contrast in mixing two things together, which are very different from each other, that leads to like a
Like
different result,
like
obviously.
like us partners, one is, I mean, okay, fine, half German, half Nigerian, but nonetheless Nigerian, and then you being, half German, half Austrian. You understand, which
Yeah.
which historically there hasn't been a lot of interaction between these cultures.
Yeah, and like truly I learned so much from you, you know, when it's about even famous writers like Chimamanda or something that I would have never heard about if I wouldn't have had this relationship with you and be interested in Nigerian culture, Nigerian people, Nigerian authors, scientists, artists, you know. Like it's just you close off yourself to like a whole world of knowledge, you know. And I mean, the same goes for you, right? Like you being like very fascinated with German literature, German philosophers, right? That really shape your journey and the way you also approach knowledge and think about certain things.
Yeah, we also talked recently about how Robert is a German name, and if my parents subconsciously knew where I was heading when they gave me that name. But for us to stick on the topic of AI, I do have a
Yeah.
bit of a fun question. What's your favorite AI company at the moment?
Mm.
You can't say DIMC Services because of course that'll be your favorite AI company. What else?
My favorite company, I think it depends on. It's so annoying. I always say the answer depends, right? It depends on the aspect, you know. So when I think about accessibility and marketing, OpenAI is definitely on top. Like there's no argument about that. I'm very intrigued by and fascinated by how they were able to get so many people on board and like so many people were like using ChatGPT, you know, and they still use it. And I feel like it's a big challenge to have people adapt to a certain technology, which also like to the average person seems a bit spooky, you know, like it's the unknown. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, and you know the level of which they achieve that is unmatched
I'm
in my
sorry.
opinion.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was recently online and I saw a clip of Timothy Chalamet going, "I chat GPT that," and I was so
Yeah.
fascinated how that's very quickly become a buzzword. Like I Google that, I chat GPT that.
Yes, and it's crazy because I actually watched an interview a while back where Sam Altman was talking about how he wants to achieve that, right? He wants to have ChatGPT as a term for like doing research and, you know.
Amazing.
So yeah, when it's about that, yeah, then obviously, you know, like I really like the founder of Perplexity just in terms of how passionate he is about the company and what he's doing, how analytical he is about it, how much knowledge he has when it's about the AI landscape, you know, how he's really just, I think, someone who's not ego driven, but like knowledge driven. Yeah, and then I mean, you mentioned recently to me that Claude was co-founded by a woman, so that already made me more curious about the company and what they do. I think now they're like obviously the CEO is someone else and everything, but aren't they owned by who? Which company owns them now?
I mean, it's a very difficult thing to define, but they are being largely sponsored by Amazon, AWS.
Yeah. So that then again is to me like okay, I'm like that's just my thing. I really think you can't really separate the person from the art. I know there's people who say you can do that. I think business is like art in a way. To me, I can't do that. So I have to fuck with the founder in order to fuck with the company. You know? So with me, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, you know, and but I'm also to say that I'm very curious to see young founders founding AI companies and seeing, you know, also now this building in public where you see the co-founder also growing with the challenge and everything. Yeah.
Okay, so a last one because I think we've spoken a lot about AI in America, which
Yeah.
is a big problem, and that was one of the huge motivations we had for creating the company, realizing that specific problems tend to need specific solutions. You understand? OpenAI is mostly trained on American data and the way American companies work, and German companies work different, Austrian companies work different, Swiss companies work different, Nigerian companies work different, Ghanaian companies work different. So what's your vision for what AI can mean to, first of all, Europe, Germany, and second of all, Nigeria, Africa?
Ooh. My vision for AI in Germany is that people get rid of their skepticism, that people just are more open to it, and that we have like a faster pace and like in how we deal with AI. I hope that there's more playfulness when it's about having AI tools, and I think now we're already very strong with having AI solutions for the industrial sector and how to increase their processes
Production.
and making it more efficient. I think that's really cool and very important for Germany specifically. I also think that the industry sector in Germany is not the most lucrative anymore, and we need to kind of also find different ways of creating value, providing value, and we should implement playfulness, creativity, and all of that. So that's for Germany. For Nigeria, I feel like they're already so far with their digitalization process, and like they do banking, online banking. It's like super normal in Nigeria.
Which interestingly enough, anyone who's in German hearing this, online banking is just becoming a thing in Germany. One would imagine that it's been there for a long time, but
Yes. Exactly. Even solutions like PayPal, we still don't have a German company which is doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Even
in Nigeria, you have so many. We know that because we also tried out some of them. So I feel like just for Nigeria specifically, making sure that it also provides jobs for people, it pours into the local economy. It makes sure that local businesses are able to thrive and are able to also act on a global stage.
So
with online shopping and all of that,
So your vision then is AI for the common businessman, the everyday business person, not necessarily the Siemens, the BMW, or the Allianz, but perhaps the tax consultancy agency, the bio e-commerce business where they sell, healthy healthy stuff. It happens, right?
Yes. So. Absolutely. I think that's where AI is the most powerful, because AI demands fast adapting and demands, like trying out, experimenting a lot, trying this out and throwing it away, trying something different out. I think when we talk about the bigger companies like Allianz or something, their processes are just much slower and there's just more strings attached. So to be able to adapt quickly is just a whole different beast for them. And I think also when we talk about local AI solutions, the small businesses can really fuel that, right? Like when we have a very specific solution, which maybe like in Nigeria, tailoring is very common, right? Which I find so cool, that you can just have your clothes tailored, right? And it's just, that's how people, buy clothes.
Always custom, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like high quality and everything, right? So if you find AI solutions which are like really tailored, wordplay intended, to that sector, I think you have like, you have a like big opportunity there. Okay. But that also involves, that people who are Nigerian participate, right? People who are familiar with the sector, people who actually live in Nigeria and know how the processes are in Nigeria.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's been nice doing this first episode. We're going to keep it a bit short and sweet to 30 minutes.
Yes.
Hopefully this is a first of many. Thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Thank you for the great questions.
Thank you too. Okay, then we'll see the community later. Bye.